Hello and welcome to another Bot Bash tourney. I am Anomalism and this is Dawn of War Soulstorm Warhammer 40k. And if you're not familiar with a Bot Bash tourney, 2 bots enter and 1 bot leaves. Although lately it's been a bit different to that. It's just been whoever wins wins. But today we have a showing of Bailtan Eldar going up against the local Karava Necron, representing their blue colors versus the classic Bailtan Eldar. Bailtan? I think it's Bile, or at least it seems to be Bile in my head. Going for those Banshees very quickly makes a lot of sense. So, rules today. I've taken off Taken Hold Victory because the Necron are completely favored by a Taken Hold Victory. For Taken Hold Victory, what you have to do is control 2 of the 3 control points, critical locations rather. And once you own 2 of those 3 control points, a 7-minute countdown begins, and once it reaches 0, then you win. Necron capture points with workers, not with military. So what happens with the AI is the AI captures it with workers, and then they just dogpile with military in a constant stream, which the enemy has to constantly fight off, and they never get to those critical points. They might get close, they might surround it, but it favors Necron significantly just by time. So we're seeing some early setup here. Eldar going out to capture a relic very early, capturing all these critical points. Other rules, annihilate the enemy or control the most strategic points. Control, I think it's 66%. So for this map, that'll be 9 or 10. Strategic points, and once you own 9 or 10 strategic points, you win. Fleet of Foot is so broken. Look how fast they can get their army around. Look at this. And this is a grudge match between the Eldar and the Necron. Grudge match in terms of lore. See the Necron just sort of meandering about with their forces. Kind of unnecessary, but if that's what you feel like. It'll actually be interesting, because as the Necron don't need their soldiers to capture points, they're free to just produce and produce and produce off their main monolith structure. However, they don't seem to like building additional monoliths to increase their unit production, which can give a leg up to the other team. Specifically, you might see 2 or 3 of these aspect portals coming up, or maybe only 2 of them. You might see a couple aspect portals come up, a couple of the vehicle buildings. I can't remember what they're called for the Eldar. I'll remember when it gets closer to the time. Webway assembly? Probably. That's the capital. My mistake. But you see them start to produce more, basically. And here we see our first skirmish, the Farseer Commander versus the Necron Lord. The Necron Lord will suffer the worst of that from that... God, I forget what that ability is called, but it's so good. You just pick a unit, and that unit takes massive damage for a few seconds. It's very good at weakening enemy commanders, and the problem is the Farseer relies on those abilities rather than raw fighting power. We'll see if I can just see the Farseer's got 54 to 76 damage, and the Necron Lord has 111 to 32. Raw fighting power, not to mention he's got 1,800 health, she's got 13 and 10. So, in a straight fight, the Farseer is weaker than most other commanders. However, she has those amazing abilities to guide units, giving them increased accuracy. The Mind War, I think it's called. Yeah, that's the one, Mind War. It's got the Eldritch Storm and the smaller Eldritch Storm, which I think is a great design. Definitely feels... I mean, the Eldar do feel like they are more the mystical space elves, they obviously are. So relying on magic rather than raw power definitely fits their flavor, and it translates perfectly mechanically. And we see that the Necron are actually giving quite a bit of ground right now. Just as they're trying to build up and get going, they need another couple of squads before they can really face the Eldar straight on, but the Eldar aren't engaging too directly either. See the fleet of foot triggering on and off. Who do I favor this game to win? I'm biased, I want the Eldar to win. I think Necron play in a very boring style in this game. Because of their inherent design of work as capture points rather than units, it means that you can just produce. You only use one resource, you just produce more and more units. That looks like it's teching up to the next level of Monolith. Yeah, it makes for a very boring playstyle. And Necron units are also kind of fairly boring. They're very effective sometimes, but they're very boring. You've got your Necron warriors who are just your standard infantry, but they've got a good knockback on their melee, which I think is cool. Early game, I actually prefer them melee against most teams than I do range, because they do just knock people back. And then you get your flayed ones, which are just a melee unit with no morale, which I think is a good addition, but very standard. I mean, you can deep strike them. They're kind of the coolest unit that I think Necron gets their hands on, until way later. Then you get Immortals, who are just a standard anti-vehicle. Pariahs, who are melee and drain at maximum HP. They're cool, but they are, at the end of the day, just another melee unit. And draining maximum HP is only good against buildings and commanders, and big vehicle units that have lots of high HP to begin with. If you use it against a Guardian squad, you'll just end up killing the Guardians and they'll reinforce and get that health back. So the draining maximum health is interesting, but not... It's more circumstantial, like you gotta pick your targets with it, and a lot of the enemies you want to pick your target with, like it's unlikely that your enemy will just walk into pariahs with them. I mean, maybe the AI will. And it's like, what do they have other than that? Tomb Spiders are cool, and they've got the 3 like destroyer platforms, which are... They feel so samey. The Light Destroyer, Heavy Destroyer, and Destroyer Lord or something. And other than that, they've just got the Monolith and the 2 aspects, the Nightbringer and the Deceiver? I believe it's the Deceiver. And those are cool. But it just feels like the core military are lackluster, whereas here you've got Banshees. Banshees are cool, they've got that Scream that, slows enemies. Fleet of Foot makes a lot of Eldar units kind of cool. I guess the thing is the Necrons are missing a lot of things that I consider almost standard these days, where it's like, of course your Guardian squad has a grenade. Can I see it? No, I can't. But your Guardian squad has a grenade. Your Warlocks add... you have Warlocks you can add to the squad. Necron don't have Warlocks, they just have more Necron. They don't have a command squad leader unit. It's just more of the same unit. Dark Reapers are a great, range alternative. Or you can get Rangers, which are another range alternative. And there you can see, I think right now, the Warlock is using abilities there. Entangle? Yeah, so there you go. Warlocks come with Entangle as well. So, just by having Warlocks and Banshees and Dark Reapers, the Eldar make for a more interesting force, and there goes that Scream to damage enemy morale. Not particularly effective in this particular circumstance, I'm afraid. See, the morale's half there, but with those flayed ones in there, the morale is definitely a low focus. Now the Guardians are getting dragged in, you don't want that. You want these Dark Reapers to be as far away as possible, but this is going to be devastating for the Necron. Basically, I think the Necron at this point are holding out until they get Tomb Spiders to get in there. And you see a Destroyer coming out. These Banshees are way deep, they should not be there. See the Immortals fighting. So yeah, the Necron... Oh, and they got Wraiths. I completely forgot about Wraiths, because who even builds them? Can they even uncap points? It can uncapture strategic points, but it can't capture them again. The Fire Dragons need to back up. So okay, the Necron actually came out on top there, and I think it's because the Eldar got split up across such a large area and were fighting under a turret. And also these Destroyers starting to show up really tilted it in their favor, but it looks like they eliminated... No, they didn't really eliminate anything. I guess this is the real problem with the Necron, is they're just really tough and it's hard to break them down. You know, even just a small group like this, once they get going, that's it. It's really hard to do much against them. Whereas it's very easy to kill Eldar in contrast. But we see some Vulcan Grav tanks, we saw a Wraith Lord coming. That should tilt the battle. I don't think it'll go fully in favor of the Eldar now. But it should make a decent difference. You'll see these, if they move too close with this Wraith Lord, the Immortals will tear it to pieces. Because we are transitioning into the mid-game where you have to deal with vehicles versus anti-vehicles. You see the Grav tank flew in and then flew away just as quick. Kind of pointless, but okay. These Guardians are going to get torn to shreds. They are not nearly tough enough for this. And again, before the Tau existed, the Eldar was sort of the sit back and shoot team. Yeah, they got the Banshees and the Seer Council, but, you know, between Warp Spiders, Dark Reapers, they favoured a more stand back and shoot style. And Rangers, yeah, was the other one. And even Fire Dragons. I believe they got Fire Dragons before Tau and Necron were introduced to the game. I'm trying to remember. It's a bit of a blur for me for what units came when. Because I'm trying to remember what the Eldar would have got when those units came in. Winter Assault, I'm pretty sure we got the Khorne Berserker, the alternate Land Speeder? No, we got the Chaplain. Khorne Berserker, the Chaplain. Eldar got Fire Dragons.
We are ready to fight again.
I think Hawks might have got the Flash Kits. Might have.
We have secured the area.
And now it looks like the Necron will come in and claim this part of the map. And what we might actually see this game is we might see the Necron still win with area control. Because it's very hard for the Eldar to repel them forever. And we actually see right now that the Eldar are getting driven back quite far. The real problem is I don't know if the... Okay, so we are seeing a second monolith come up. So the Eldar, the Necron production is going to start skyrocketing for troops. And it will just become an overwhelming tide of the damned. Which is kind of what the Necron are all about. And I do like that that is represented in this game, that they do feel kind of like a tide. I just wish their individual units were a little bit more engaging and interesting. See another ensnare go down, grenade thrown there. The Eldar are going to retreat, and right now the Eldar do not have a significant force to fight the enemy in general. Oh, goodness gracious, sorry, just yawning. And so it looks like the Necron might be going for their death blow now. We see a D-cannon up here. Should do devastating damage to these destroyers. Yep, absolutely painful. Unfortunately, this other support platform did not get up in time. There will be a downed destroyer. Don't turn on the Necron Lord, you won't do damage to him. Target the other destroyer. And here come the forces in on all sides for the Necron. They're just moving very slowly. A couple of Tomb Spiders in there. The Farseer here is slowly getting whittled down while the Necron Lord is tough as nails. Tough as bolts. There goes a big Eldritch Storm, but I don't know how much damage it ended up doing. Very flashy, don't know how effective. D-cannon still firing away. Can the Tomb Spider even see this? Looks like not. I'd love to see the Tomb Spider drop off a Scarab Swarm. You rarely see Scarab Swarms. The funny thing is they actually need their Scarabs to get over here because they detect infiltrated. Which is another kind of unique quirk to the team, but it makes them very awkward to have to send your builders into combat, you know. Necron momentum has stopped here, unfortunately, because of this infiltrated base. So they might lose their entire army just to this listening shrine, and support platform. Fire Dragons targeting the Warp Spider, the Tomb Spider as they should. More Fire Dragons coming in. The Flayed ones are acting as a good level of interference though, and now the Necron Lord has come over, they're going to tear apart this establishment, this established base. I'm assuming he's got the thing that allows him to detect infiltrated, or is it just those workers? Oh dear, please bring the workers back. Ah, the Eldar are so annoying. Okay, so now the workers are here, they are starting to tear into this building again. There's really just not a lot to comment on. I mean, we've got a large Eldar force. I can't even really say large. Support portal, that's what it's called. The Eldar are just sort of getting beaten back very slowly and painfully. It's not like they're losing really super hard, it's just that they're not gaining ground at any point. And the Necrons aren't really... Like, the Necrons are just slowly gaining ground. It's a slow grind. I would like to see, before this match ends, a fully awakened monolith join the battlefield. That would make my day. I don't think I've actually ever seen it outside of campaign. And I rarely see it in campaign anyway, if you're doing the missions right. The only time you really see an awakened monolith in campaign is if you let it come on the Necron final mission. And you know, sometimes you do. Sometimes you let the Necron awakened monoliths come because it's fun. Oh, 2 soul shrines, that's interesting. Oh, second support portal, okay. Should be producing quite the army now, with the multiple support portals, multiple aspect portals. Another aspect portal there. Even webway gates should be producing lots of support platforms if they have them. I see lots of upgrades coming through, which I think are good, but not necessarily necessary until you have an advantage. Dawn of War doesn't feel like a game like Age of Empires or StarCraft, where your upgrades are hugely impactful to the same degree. They're useful, they can be significant, especially in the position where you have a lot of numbers, but when your numbers are small, the more important thing is to get larger numbers than it is to build up, than it is to tech up. And look at this, losing strategic points to the enemy all over the map. This is what I mean, I think that the Necrons are just going to area control victory at this point. We see the Necron Lord with his lightning shroud, or whatever it is. He's got scarabs, and he's got the lightning thing, which is a combination I like. So scarabs, what they do is they reduce the damage you take from ranged attacks. Then he's got this lightning thing where as he fights in melee, he builds up like a charge of electricity, and then he can call it down in melee range. And then the last thing he has is the Shroud of Night, I think it's called, which makes him invisible and nearby allies. So I really like the lightning thing, because you can just absolutely devastate squads. I basically like to make my Necron Lord a physical juggernaut in combat between the lightning and the scarabs. So I don't have to be afraid of throwing him into the mix and getting in a bad position. He just fights indefinitely. But it looks like, yeah, we are seeing an absolutely dominant showing from the Necron, and it wouldn't surprise me if they win by area control, because they have so much of the map in their hand right now. In their cold, unfeeling, metallic grip. They are devastating the Eldar base right now. Should have put on HQ defeat. I've learned a lot of lessons from running this tournament. This bot bash tournament. Hey, the pariahs are out. I've learned a lot about what settings make for the most interesting play. And so largest armies, wow, annihilate the enemy. Good luck with that. You know what, if you get Kane out now, if you drop the big boy, he just marches out of... I don't even know if you can produce him, but if he just marched out right now, that might do it. Dropping a relic unit might actually save you. At least for a little while. There are pariahs in there. But yeah, I've learned a lot about the settings that make for an interesting game, make for an interesting watch. And I think the early problems I had was Annihilate, not Destroy HQ. I didn't have Take and Hold on. I chose a bad map. This map is a lot more aggressive, and starting the AI close to each other makes for a lot more immediately engaging play. Whereas the other map was very widespread, and there was sort of a choke point at the corners of each base, which would lead to this very painful stalemate area where the enemies would just... the AI would never be able to punch through, because just being able to produce enough would keep them going the entire time. I'm actually surprised the Eldar are struggling so bad. You can see they don't have unit cap right now, but they have all these resources. They should just be producing endlessly support platforms and infantry from their aspect portal. But I think at this point in the game, the AI gets tripped up by what they have, and they start to try and rebuild certain things. Like I think they're trying to rebuild their main building right now. Or they're just stuck. I mean, look at this. They move like a little bit and then they stop.
Our concentration is high. Retreat.
But basically, we're just letting Necron have a victory lap at this point, because there is no way that the Eldar can come back. And you know, we'll even switch over to the Necron side, see how things look from their perspective. They're 30 out of 30 squad cap, 7 out of 30 vehicles. They could go better than that. Come on, get more vehicles. Yeah, I'm not sure about the monoliths. It'd be cool to see them awaken. All these obelisks online, they have 9 of 14, so if they took a single more control point, that would be take and hold, area control victory coming into play. I'm just trying to see where they could take it. So that's currently free. Up here is going to be free in a minute. This is the last bastion of Eldar defense. But yeah, just run... Where are all their workers right now? Run some workers down here, capture this point. Area control victory will start a countdown. And I don't see why not letting the Necrons have the victory. So why did I favor Eldar? Incorrectly assumed that they'd be able to stand back and shoot better than they did. So how do you beat Necrons if you play against them? Okay, one, don't let them deep strike onto your range squads. I know that's impossible, but what I mean is Flayed ones and Necron in general are really slow. If you are the Eldar, you have this thing called Fleet of Foot, which is an ability on all your basic infantry. If they deep strike onto your infantry, select that squad, Fleet of Foot, and run away. Turn Fleet of Foot off, and shoot. Wait. Ah! No, come back! It's happening. Yes. Why doesn't it appear up here? You'd think your restored monolith would be one of the most important things to have up there. We even have an energy core. We could actually see a Nightbringer come out as well. Or Deceiver. I'd prefer the Nightbringer. Nightbringer's way cooler. Where's he going? He's trying to get to the front lines, I think. Restored monolith. Good stuff. Looks kind of goofy, but I appreciate it. Like, look at these turrets. This is just silly. Little side 4 turrets and then the big crystal up the top. It really is a silly kind of looking building, but it's just, it's got a cool factor in that it's giant flying pyramid. You can take that fight, go on. Come on, get in the fray. They're rebuilding their webway assembly. Come on, Necron. You are all over them. Literally, metaphorically. You just need a working unit to detect them. Oh, come on. Why did you stop? You had it. Cap the point. Win the game. Get a detector over here at this relic. Ah, dear. Alright, sorry. So how you beat the Necrons? Run away. Shoot from a distance. The Necron can only do so much against you. Do I have to give up ground control to do that? No, run around the map. The Necrons rely heavily on two factors, and that is their ability to teleport their troops to different locations, which they have to do towards a building, and their sheer just overwhelming force. So if you don't fight them on their terms, then you have an advantage on them, and their terms are very slow. Very slow, not very good. So if the Necron are pushing down this front, stonewall them here, build a bunch of turrets, blow them up, landmines, just throw units into the grinder and stand back and shoot, while you send like 2 squads over here to capture everything. The Necrons, if they want to stop you, they will have to send Necron warriors. You know, they have to teleport them in. Send something that can kill a turret, obviously, and then just a squad to capture. Uncap everything they own and use that to power yourself up. The real problem, I think, with the Necrons is that they only need 5 control points ever, 5 listening posts to be at maximum efficiency. I'd say that's the big design flaw with them, is that they don't scale with map, and in general, there's no advantage for them of taking a bunch of capture points. The other thing you can do to really inhibit the Necrons is after you've taken all those listening posts and used them to your advantage, try and hit their gas. If you can hit their power, sorry. Gas, power in this game. If you can hit their power, that is their only resource, and they rely on it. They live and die off their power. Even now in this completely dominant position, look at that gas. That's only 400. It costs like 100 plus to build a squad. You know, it costs 30 to reinforce a unit. That gas will disappear. See, just another 300 went right then. I think that's because they just started building another unit. Gas disappears so quickly on the Necrons. Being able to keep their gas supplies as low as possible, invaluable. I really do think, again, the Necron don't care if you take out their control points, because as long as it doesn't hit their time bonus, their the benefit they get from having 5 of them, as long as it doesn't affect that, I think they don't care. But they should care, because they're not actually losing anything. What they're doing is they're giving you an advantage in that you have all those control points. And if they have to send their workers to uncap it, you can leave a turret and that'll kill 3 workers. Like, maybe they'll uncap it, but then you killed a worker, and they have to rebuild that worker, and then you can go and claim it back, you know? Or a listening post is often enough. Necrons to go around and kill listening posts and things, it takes so much more effort for them. So why did this game go so wrong for the Eldar? Well, the AI is not good at defending against an overwhelming force like the Necron. And in fact, these settings may favor the Necron entirely, because it allows them to produce an even more overwhelming force than what could reasonably consider balanced. Did that monolith actually get anywhere? It's coming! But I think the Eldar still had a chance to win. I don't think the Eldar were doomed to lose this game. I think they just didn't utilize their squads properly in the actual engagements. I think they overcommitted. They threw their forces into the middle of the enemy, and they got shredded instead of, oh, here he comes. Look at that restored monolith, unleashing absolute hell on the enemy. And he stopped moving. He took one shot and was like, yep, that's me done. I'm going home. Okay, here he comes. The sheer range on it, what's the damage? It doesn't even look like a lot of damage, but I think that's a lie. It's trying to build a Wraith right now. Trash, don't build Wraiths. You know, Wraiths are the counter to, the Necron counter to what I was saying you do. You run around with Wraiths to uncap enemy bases. I hate the Necrons for this reason. I think they're visually cool, but I think they could do with a redesign. Again, I think Dawn of War with the current edition of Warhammer just coming out, what is it, like 9th edition? Or whatever it is, where's he gonna go? Straight into the fray? Right to the middle of it. Yeah, I reckon 9th edition Warhammer, I think it's 9th edition we're up to now. 9th edition Warhammer 40k. The new Necron units that are coming out, like the Spider Walkers with the cool green glaives, I think that is the direction. think that is the direction you'd want to go. And there we go, the Necron has completely annihilated the Eldar. An overwhelming victory. Let's go see it in the score screen. Military overwhelming technology. You know what? I'm not surprised. The Eldar was so busy getting all their upgrades. But the other thing is the Necron just don't get upgrades. They only get so many. It's not a lot. The Eldar don't get unit upgrades either. Again, Necrons, they don't get interesting things. They can't adapt on the fly. They're very rigid, very fixed in their ways. Army size, amazing. I assume that's the Necron. No, that was the Eldar. The Eldar army size was bigger over the course of the game. That's hilarious. I guess they just had to keep producing units. Does army size just mean units produced? Because I thought it meant the largest army you had at a given time, but it looks like it's units produced now, which is completely arbitrary or metric. Units killed 400, units lost 400. Yeah, that looks like what it is army, how much army you produced. I thought it was maximum size army, my mistake. Overall, the Necron have won, and they will go into the final round to face off against the Space Marine, and we will have to see who comes out on top in the first Bot Bash tournament finals. I hope to see you there.